Hello, I am Mason Van Valkenburg, and this is Depression among Adolescents. Depression is a mood disorder characterized by consistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and an overall loss of interest in activities that once brought joy or satisfaction to the individual. Depression can often occur as a result of serious life stressors such as the loss of a loved one, or frequent subtle stressors accumulating into depression. Although depression can impact a wide variety of individuals, adolescents exist within a large population of those who can be impacted by this disorder. During 2015, an estimated 3 million adolescents with ages ranging from 12 to 17 within the United States experienced at least one major depressive episode. Maglara reported a significant increase in depression among adolescents in Greece following recent economic crises which have faced the country, revealing the impact of this significant stressor among the adolescent population within the country. Factors associated with adolescent depression. Conway, Zinberg, Manka, and Krask found that the changes exhibited among negative affect were strongly correlated with alterations within anxious arousal, but the changes among anhedonia were not significantly related to change among any other domain. Conway also found the developmental trends for negative affect, anhedonia, and anxious arousal can occur irregularly and even in opposite directions throughout adolescence, and the rates of change among symptomology is not always strongly correlated. Ask, Wakhtar, Seglem, and Torgerson found that environmental factors played a prominent role among the etiology of depression among adolescents in a majority of cases. These researchers also indicated that in addition to the various environmental factors which influence depression among adolescents, genetic factors can also exhibit a moderate role, as well as co-occurring anxiety and somatic problems. Physiological etiology of depression. There are several brain regions, structures, and pathways that can become altered or compromised as a result of clinical depression. Individuals struggling with depression tend to show significantly poor performance among tasks requiring the frontal lobe, along atypical functioning within the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and regions of the anterior cingulate cortex. Additionally, left frontal regions of the brain also exhibit decreased activity among individuals with depression. Decreased levels of activity within the posterior regions of the right hemisphere and alterations within various structures of the limbic system, such as the amygdala, reward pathways, and hippocampus, is also experienced. Panicoic and others found that difficulties concerning resting state functional connectivity within both the amygdala and dorsal anterior cingulate cortex networks may be related to the altered emotional processing and regulation among adolescents diagnosed with clinical depression. These researchers also found that negative attentional biases exhibited by depressed adolescents also play a prominent role in the difficulties experienced among both networks. Developmental problems can also compound the sensitivity and severity of depression among adolescents. Goodyear stated that neuronal vulnerabilities within the amygdala and ventral prefrontal cortices may experience significantly impaired mood regulations, which in turn compounds the environmental demands faced during adolescence. This researcher also found that the involvement of both atypical preliminary neurogenesis and acquired neuroendangerment strongly influenced the course and onset of depressive episodes among adolescents. Duvis and others found that persistent depressive symptoms were strongly associated with increased levels of high sensitivity C-reactive protein, which was, in addition, to the contributing somatic and cognitive symptoms. Byron and others found that adolescents diagnosed with depression had resting heart rates significantly higher compared to the heart rates among healthy adolescents. These researchers also explain that symptoms such as impaired blood clotting mechanisms, vascular and endothelial dysfunction within the coronary arteries, and inflammatory immune system responses each accounted for the experience of heart conditions among individuals struggling with depression. Sustained threat refers to hyperreactivity within the amygdala and distorted functional connectivity between this structure and specific emotional regulation areas, which significantly increase the risk for adolescent depression. Research has revealed several factors that contribute towards sustained threat, including adversity, stress, insecure attachment, extensive use of technology and social media, and even climate change. Gender differences among adolescent depression. Klosterman, Connell, and Stormshack found that difficulties in conduct preceded depression among boys, whereas these difficulties were preceded by depression among girls. These researchers also explain that the existence of gender differences among depression is largely due to the tendencies for girls to be socialized to value interpersonal relationships to a greater extent than males, which is why interpersonal factors such as quality of peer relationships and family support are much more significant factors for depression among females than males. Wagner, Alloy, and Abramson found that among adolescents, boys showed a tendency to ruminate, which is characterized by shifting attentional sets more efficiently, and different factors were revealed to influence the development of rumination tendencies among adolescent males compared to females. Parental involvement. Adrup, Lederson, Wallander, and Sund found that attachment relationships between adolescents and their parents may significantly influence the course of depression. Specifically, these researchers indicated that less attachment among mothers was associated with becoming depressed, and less secure attachment among both parents was associated with remaining depressed. Fried, Rubenstein, Dariani, Alino, and Alloy found that family functioning to be immediately related to depressive symptoms through the domain of emotional clarity, which occurs throughout the period of adolescence. These researchers also emphasized the importance of parents promoting both the understanding and awareness of emotional experiences their children may face throughout adolescence, which would improve the symptom severity of depression as well. Auerbach and Ho found that during adolescence, conflict within the family environment resulted in an increased vulnerability towards experiencing a greater frequency of peer stressor. These researchers also found that the elevated levels of peer stressor significantly increased levels of depressive symptoms, but depressive symptoms did not predict peer stressors, revealing a unilateral relationship between the two variables. Feeney and others found that several variables of family functioning appeared to play a prominent role in both predicting as well as moderating treatment outcomes among adolescent depression. Feeney and others also found that adolescents who perceived aspects of their family environment to be dysfunctional or unsatisfactory were significantly more likely to exemplify benefits from fluoxetine, which is an antidepressant pharmaceutical. These researchers also found that among adolescents who reported poor family environments, cognitive behavioral therapy appeared significantly less effective. Comorbidities among adolescent depression. There are several comorbidities associated with depression that adolescents may be particularly susceptible to, such as alcohol abuse, drug addiction, obesity, or eating disorder. Scogan, Knudsen, Hiesing, Wold, and Siverston found that an early onset combined with an increase of both alcohol consumption and drinking to intoxication were both strongly associated with a much higher risk of symptoms of depression among adolescents. Duvis and others also indicated that adolescents may tend to utilize smoking as a remedy to their various depressive symptoms. Mermerstein, Iacano, and Legrand found that the early onset of depression among adolescents was strongly associated with elevated risks of future obesity, and alternatively, obesity was associated with increased risk of future depression. Hankin and others found that increased levels of peer stress can significantly increase levels of depression, which would be further impacted by the comorbidities such as obesity and eating disorder. Chen and others found that adolescents who were diagnosed with both major depressive disorder and attentional hyperactivity disorder were at a significantly higher risk for developing bipolar disorder as well. Stranholm, Carlson, Kirusu, Pelkonen, and Martunen found that the recovery of depressive symptoms was largely incomplete among adolescents who also exhibited comorbid axis 2 pathologies. These researchers also found that the lack of recognition of personality pathologies among adolescents within treatment settings may strongly increase the risk for developing chronic depression. Relationships between adolescents, anxiety, and depression. Price and others found that exhibiting an excessive avoidance towards threat could result in an impaired ability to establish adaptive emotional regulation skills during development, which can result in behavioral deactivation leading to depression. These researchers also explain how avoidant attentional processing concerning anxiety may establish a detrimental gateway towards depression, which spans across a pivotal period of time during adolescence. Aurora, Wheeler, Fisher, and Barnes found that among adolescents, higher levels of anxiety symptoms were strongly associated with an increase of depressive symptoms over time. Nilsson, Eastman, and Vermo found that among adolescent depression, both baseline symptom severity and existing comorbid anxiety may significantly impact responsiveness regarding treatment. Treatment and prevention strategies. The primary concerns of any treatment or prevention strategy aimed at adolescents are the reduction of depressive symptoms, promotion of positive life habits, and increased family functioning. Freed and others explain that due to the nature of family functioning being so intimately connected to depressive symptoms among adolescents, any form of treatment must focus on this intense relationship in order to remedy the symptoms of depression, specifically effective communication skills. Despite the utilization of antidepressant medication to counter the detrimental symptoms of depression, Lawrence, Nangle, Schwartz, and Erdley reveal that there is currently very limited evidence establishing the utility of antidepressants over placebo among adolescents. Lawrence and others also explain that clinicians must take into account the inconsistent results and potential risks when administering antidepressants among adolescents, and if this form of treatment is the best course of action with each specific situation. Certain recreational activities such as exercise have been known to mitigate the detrimental symptoms of depression by promoting both emotional and physical well-being. Carter and others found a preferred intensity exercise intervention among adolescents struggling with symptoms of depression to exhibit a significant reduction in negative symptoms several months following treatment, which revealed a delayed but positive long-term effect for this form of treatment. Conclusion. There are many factors with depression among adolescents, which ranges from environmental, social, physiological, and much more. Current research has provided much information on effective treatments and directions for future research that yield very promising results. Through a combination of comprehensive yet focused forms of therapy, this extremely unfortunate illness can be effectively countered among the adolescent community, which will help ensure that this illness is much less prevalent among future generations, merging into adulthood. These are the references.